would it be right to say it's the World Cup of upsets?
Yeah, you can make that argument, can't you? I mean, as I'm seeing the magnitude of them, I mean, Saudi beating Argentina, um, Morocco beating Belgium, amongst many others. Yeah, you can say that. Both the mild and the absolute shockers. Yeah, you can make that argument. I haven't seen a World Cup in recent memory that I can actually say that has been as consistent with that argument as many others.
Any reasons why do you think there have been so many upsets?
International football's changed. Saudi, for example, I'll give you an example. Saudi Arabia, they had players playing at the higher levels. Some, of course, the player that Dasawi, who plays for Saudi Arabia, scores the game winner against Argentina. He was playing in Villarreal earlier in the year. They gave players continuity and give them game speed preparation in order for them to be able to come through in a tournament like this. Unlike Qatar, who basically had their national team set aside and had been training for 6 months, but really didn't have consistent competition. So you can say it from that argument. But it's the lack of time, lack of preparation too, that many of the national teams had. Now I say that, and you can counter that argument very well by saying, well, teams like Ecuador only had 5 days. Yeah, but there's several teams that haven't had continuous preparation throughout the World Cup cycle. So that ends up being one of the negatives of international football, that coaches no longer end up being tacticians. They end up, and if you're a tactician, it does help out too. I'm not saying it doesn't. It's the fact that you have such little time to prepare players, such little time for players to really absorb the information and understand a philosophy better. And those that end up doing so end up being more successful. Case in point, Brazil. Case in point, if you see Argentina in the second match, and I think Argentina wasn't lack of preparation. I think it was just that they underestimated what Saudi Arabia were able to do, especially being up 1-0. So those teams that end up being more, France, for example, also another team, those are the ones that end up being more successful in a tournament like this with the demands that it does require.
What have been your takeaways from this group phase? I mean, we
Well,
still have one more round of games to go, but what has been the takeaways as such?
it's not how you start; it's how you start improving. First and foremost, it does take some time for teams. Again, going back to the lack of preparation or lack of time to prepare, um, you prepare in the tournament, and if you start out on the wrong foot, then it puts a lot of pressure on you to be able to rectify your path. As teams play more, and the teams practice more, you see them improve. So in this round of matches, not only do you have the pressure to win, but also you're going to see teams that are a bit more fine-tuned. At least I'm crossing my fingers and seeing that will be the case. But when you start looking at the overall performance of certain squads and certain squads that have high expectations, a lot of it is going to have to do with that, and a lot of it will have to do with how daring and how much coaches believe in their teams. And I'll give you a prime example. In the second match for Mexico, one of the factors that ends up seeing them lose to Argentina, I'm not saying they were going to win to begin with. I thought they would compete a little bit more. Was the fact that Tata Martino really doesn't have as much of an offensive pronunciation or offensive disposition to go and attack Argentina. Same thing with Uruguay the other day. You have your your two best attacking midfielders, and you have them on the bench. So that ends up being one of the big disappointments. For me, Uruguay ends up being one of the big disappointments of this World Cup because of that.